All started when the sewer backed up, and this is the floor drain for the sewer, and we had a clog, most likely too much paper in the toilet, and it backed up here, and there was water filling up the basement here, and then on the other side the shower was filling up. So we called actually Roto-Rooter, and they came out and opened up our stack cap. This is a stack for the plumbing. So know where your plumbing is, your stack for your plumbing, your main clean out. They went in here and got a huge snake and flushed this out. And they also recommended to have the line scoped. So it was about $450 for them to clean the blockage, and we had the line scoped. So the scope found a pipe was pooling at one of the joints. Actually, the joint from the cast to clay, as you see here in this picture, the water was pooling, which means not all of it was going down the drain. There was some pooling, which means there's a leak in the line and the water was seeping into the surrounding dirt. So I asked the plumber, I says, could we wait till the spring? And he said that it's not recommended because the more and more water goes and leaves and escapes and leaks the clay pipe joint, that it could wash away the next section of clay pipe and add lubricant and erode the bed of where the pipe is, which could cause excessive shifting of the pipe. Recommended for a complete sewer replacement, main line replacement. Because we are Denver County, we cannot do sleeve. So sleeve is only an option if there's a permanent structure over the main drain line. In our case, there was not a permanent structure. It was straight down the sidewalk. And that was Denver County. Denver wants you to replace the main line for code. Other counties you can sleeve, which means they only take a small section of your yard and or sidewalk and then sleeve it all the way up to your house and then all the way up to the sewer. So that would have been a nice option, and it would have been half the cost of a complete replacement because they are only going to a small section of the yard, cutting out, going to that spot and sleeving it. But Denver County does not allow you to sleeve. So we scheduled a complete main sewer line replacement line, and I recommend you to have your line scoped by an independent agency that is not associated with a plumber. If it's an old clay house, if it's an old house that uses clay pipes, most likely they're in 4-foot sections, and they're just pressed together. They do not use any sealant, and the actual material of the clay is fairly robust, and it would probably last a very, very long time. However, though, the joints between the clay pipe shift because they're flexible, they're pressed into place. So over time, the shifting of the yard, if you live on a busy street, the cars constantly go by, put extra pressure on the sewer line, and that translates into extra pressure on your clay pipe. And then the settling of the soil around it, they shift. So if you are in a county, so first get your sewer drain scoped, regardless of the age of the house. New houses, they use plastic pipe. However, many times they don't allow enough time to tamper and make a nice bed for the pipe. And so during the shifting of the construction of the house, and if they do not use proper supports, then quickly those sections of pipe will break, and then all your sewer will be going in the ground and not in the sewer. All your waste, all your water waste, which eventually will happen was it will erode, and then they will call that a belly, which means part of your line is broken and or leaking or cracked, causes the soil around it to erode, and now water, sewer water, is going in your yard instead of in the sewer. And what can happen over time, depending on the amount of water and depending on how aggressive or how the soil is, it could create a sinkhole. And a sinkhole could affect the street. And that means it's your problem because you caused the sinkhole. So you want to have your main sewer line scoped with a camera to check the condition, to check even if it's a new house. The inspectors supposedly have checked it off, but again, they may have not set it correctly, and it could be broke, it could be shifted. So you want to have your main sewer line scoped depending on the age of the house, just so you know the condition, because you don't want to get in a situation where it's completely shifted and you're thinking the sewer water or the wastewater is going in the sewer, and literally it's going in your yard 12 feet down, creating a lake. So I would highly recommend getting your sewer line scoped with a camera. Now the actual placed, I would highly recommend for you to hire a professional contractor or a sewer company or a plumber that actually specializes in just that. It ranges anywhere from $600 to $2,000 per foot of sewer line, depending on if it is under concrete, under a driveway, or if it's a straight shot. If they have to go into the city line, and that starts from the sidewalk to wherever the manhole cover is. It could be in the middle of the street, it could be on one side of the street or the other side of the street. But if you have to replace the sewer line from the sidewalk to the middle of the street or wherever the manhole cover is, that is 4 times as much. So you're looking at, to replace just 10 feet is about $25,000, because you have to involve the city, they have to close the road down, they have to, of course, jackhammer the road up, put in specialized dirt and rock, because whatever you take out, it has to be replaced with sanitized, sterilized soil. Then you have to, of course, have inspectors and such, and that you have to mark all the gas lines and everything else. Obviously, the company you hire would do all that, but you do not want to get in a case where you have to replace the sewer line under the street. So have your line checked, and if the line is good from the manhole cover to the sidewalk, which is under the street, then you're in luck. You're in good shape. That means you would only have to be concerned about from the sidewalk to where you're cast to where it goes in your house. The old houses have a cast iron pipe, so that actually goes under the basement, and it's a 4-inch cast iron pipe, and that will connect to clay for the old house, the old building. Nowadays they'll do cast to plastic to replace your old clay pipe, and I would highly recommend you to get that scoped. So, and I would also recommend find where your T is and your clean off. Well, this is the main drain, And periodically you can take that cap off and replace that cap. If it's a brass cap, it may be harder to get off. What the plumber did to seal that, he used the wax ring from a toilet bowl mount. You know those wax rings when you mount your toilet bowl? He used that to seal the thread so this would not leak. So this is where your main drain is. I mean your main clean out for your stack. So this particular, so right here is the sewer gas. That's also the sink and the upstairs sink and the laundry sink. But that's cast iron. One goes all the way up through the roof, and that's the sewer for the sewer gas. And now this is the main drain clean out. Over here, this is again typed into that cast iron, but this is for the kitchen upstairs. So this has a clean out right here for you to clean this pipe out. And also do not allow potato peelings, coffee grounds, any peelings, anything go down the garbage disposal. The garbage disposal is not a trash can. I've had to, and eggshells, do not put eggshells, do not put potato peelings, do not put coffee grounds. Somebody was house sitting our house while we were on vacation, and they put eggshells down the drain. Well, they did not break down, and we had to call a plumber and have them snake this out. That was $350. So they were able to slightly tunnel without disturbing my patio or my porch, because this porch is relatively new and I didn't want to have this jackhammered up and have them break it all up to get to it. So this was just maybe about 16 inches in, and they were able to tunnel under safely with using braces and access the connection from the house cast to the new, house cast to clay, and then once they removed the clay, they connected the new plastic pipe. So I was actually lucky that the sidewalk, that the sewer pipe did not go under the sidewalk, because that would have had to been jackhammered up and that replaced. I will eventually have to replace this just because it's sloping in the age, but not because of the sewer line. So I was actually lucky in this particular case that the sewer line ran right next to, within about 16 inches of the sidewalk. And what they did is they obviously took a backhoe and obviously located where the pipe was, and then over on my yard here they put plywood and tarps down and covered my entire yard with plywood and tarps. And then they took the backhoe over here, and these pictures here will show you. I didn't take too many because I didn't want to disturb the workers, and I trusted they did a good job. But they took a backhoe and cleaned, and it was a 2-foot wide by about 12 to 14 foot deep hole. And they removed all the soil and put it as you see in this picture. And then they, of course, braced it for safety so the walls wouldn't cave in on them, as you see in this picture. And then they proceeded to remove the clay pipe, and it did so. As part of the contract, they had to cut my irrigation lines. So I will have another team or myself to re-splice these irrigation lines in, and you can see down there as well. So what they did is when they seeded the pipe, when they put the pipe in, they put it in a bed of rock as per code, and then they tampered it, and then they encased the whole pipe in a bed of rock, and then tampered it at every 2 feet with the backhoe, the bucket of the backhoe. And they recommended for me to get a root waterer and stick it down there and water this and keep it well moistened so everything can settle. And then they gave me all this dirt, and they said, do not put any landscape on this for 3 months so everything can settle. And then after 3 or 4 months, if there's still some left, then we can scrape all this dirt off. But in the meantime, they said just to leave it as it is, and to let it within 3 months. Do not put any landscape on it. I do want to note, we had professionals do this. I did not attempt this myself. I am just telling you my experience, and if this is something that that you have to do, what you're in for, and specifically for Denver County. So they did everything. I just had to give them money, which was $15,000. But they also have to find out where all the service lines are. And so my gas meter, that's they have to locate where your gas lines are, and then obviously your sewer lines and any fiber optic lines, any data lines, and then also your water lines. They have to locate every single line before they dig. And then of course the city inspector has to come out and check the work at each progress, and obviously for safety. Make sure the braces are correct, because it's all about safety. So this is my experience of having this replaced, and this house is over 60 years old. So it had a clay pipe that was in decent condition, and it was a good candidate to be sleeved, but because I live in Denver, they did not allow sleeving, which is kind of a bummer, because it was half the cost, and I would have only needed a quarter of my yard yanked up, and then the sleeve would go all the way, because I had to have the main line replaced. That's 25 feet of line. And then if I could sleeve that, they would only need a small section, and then they would sleeve all the way back to the house, and then they would sleeve all the way under the street to the main sewer. So in my case, they only did from the sidewalk here all the way up to the house. And that's 25 feet. That's what they quoted me at. Now again, like I mentioned, this is the sidewalk, now this is the street. And if I had to do this 10 feet of the street, that would have cost $20,000 just right there. So in this particular case, the manhole cover, I'm going to zero in on it, is about halfway in the street. So if I had to, let's just say worst case, let's say the clay had separated, and let's say there was a well or a pond underneath the entire street, and they found out, and let's say there was a sinkhole, it would cost $30,000, $20,000 to $30,000 to replace this 10 feet section under the street. So depending on your county, depending on where you live, but obviously you do not want to be the cause, and you do not want to pay for going or tampering with anything with the street. That is a major pain, major expensive. So you want to have your lines scoped for many reasons, to check the condition, even if it's a new house, to check the condition from the sidewalk to the main sewer. And then if it's clay, you want to see if there's any shifting. Even if it's new, and if it wasn't set right, that pipe could break because it's just plastic. And then you have a leak in your yard, and eventually eventually it would just wear away and create a well, and you got a real mess. So you want to at least, at the very minimum, have your line scoped out.